Now, the Supreme Court today objected to N.Srinivasan attending the BCCI Working Committee meeting despite stepping aside as president. The court says that this is not done. You may not be taking a decision, but don't be so passionate about the game. Radhika, our correspondent, now joining us live from the Supreme Court. Radhika, the Supreme Court is not going to let up. They're not going to take this easy, and they're really going hammer and tongs after Srinivasan, after the BCCI. Srinivasan allegedly admitting that he should have not attended the meetings and should have kept the spirit of the game alive. So we see for the first time in recent times that Srinivasan is actually admitting to something. Otherwise, throughout the entire hearing, he has had this air of defiance, claiming that there is nothing wrong and that his position seems to be tenable. But we'll try and get back to Radhika in just a moment. But remember, the hearing has in fact resumed in the IPL case. The Supreme Court today questioning the reconstitution of the BCCI and asking Kapil Sibal to come up with options, asking the BCCI to get back to it with options about the working of the committee by 2 p.m. this afternoon. And also, for the first time today, the Supreme Court providing the option of reconstituting the body without N.Srinivasan. And now, Supreme Court talking tough to N.Srinivasan directly, telling him that he needn't be so passionate, and Srinivasan too admitting that he should have not attended the meetings after stepping aside and should have kept the spirit of the game alive. Remember, the three issues in these past couple of weeks highlighted during the hearings are around N.Srinivasan's alleged conflict of interest, which has been brought into focus by the two-man bench and the BCCI's own official position on the issue, and action to be taken in the IPL case. Now, the Supreme Court wrapping Srinivasan, saying you stepped aside, came through the back door, and there is no need to be so passionate. Now, this is all in relation to the IPL case that has in fact resumed its hearing today, and Srinivasan coming out and admitting that he should have not attended the meetings. Now, the Supreme Court objected to N.Srinivasan attending the BCCI Working Committee meeting, remember, because he had stepped aside as president but continued to make attendance at those meetings. Radhika joining us live once again from the Supreme Court. Radhika, the Supreme Court tearing into N.Srinivasan, coming down really hard on him now, saying that, albeit almost sarcastically, that he should not be so passionate. And in spite of stepping aside as the president, there was no need for him to attend the meetings. And we see for the first time N.Srinivasan too actually admitting and saying that him attending the meetings was wrong.
Absolutely, Sanjana. Since the morning, the Supreme Court has made several observations wherein they have felt that N.Srinivasan has clearly used his conflicts, that various interests that he has, vested interests in the BCCI to his advantage. In the morning also, they had pointed out that since he wears so many hats, it was not possible for him to actually, as far as the Supreme Court is concerned, the best possible action was for him to step aside for the elections. And now they have pointed out clearly that since N.Srinivasan himself stepped aside from his position, then why was he attending the BCCI's AGMs in the capacity as the head of the Tamil Nadu Cricket Association? So obviously the Supreme Court has made various observations. They've asked Kapil Sibal to come up with alternatives once the hearing resumes around 2 o'clock. But obviously a very tough stand that has been taken by the Supreme Court, and it doesn't look very good for N.Srinivasan from here on. We will see what sort of alternatives that are put forward by Kapil Sibal, and if any of them appeal to the Supreme Court. But at the moment, the Supreme Court stands firm that as far as they are concerned, the best course of action would be for an independent probe panel to be set up under the leadership of a new president in the BCCI, so that N.Srinivasan does not contest the elections. That is what the Supreme Court at the moment feels is the best course of action, Sanjana.
Radhika, more importantly, all eyes are going to be on the Supreme Court and the BCCI, considering the BCCI is supposed to present its options for the reconstitution of the body by 2 p.m. this afternoon. So what is the stand likely expected? Because, Supreme Court was addressing Kapil Sibal, but let's understand that Kapil Sibal is the counsellor for N.Srinivasan. He is not the counsellor for the BCCI.
Yes, Sanjana, but since N.Srinivasan is being represented by Kapil Sibal here, and it was the conflict of interest of Kapil Sibal, of N.Srinivasan that is being discussed. So obviously, Kapil Sibal will be the one who will be presenting the alternative, since he was asked by the Supreme Court to do so. But yes, like you mentioned very rightly, that he's representing Srinivasan here and not the BCCI. So what sort of backdoor talks would have happened right now? Would the BCCI be taking a stand? Needs to be seen. What is very likely is that Kapil Sibal may once again come up with a formula wherein an independent probe panel could be set up, something that the Supreme Court very clearly feels cannot happen if Srinivasan is at the helm of affairs.
Absolutely.
We will have to see if a sort of formula can be reached which appeases the Supreme Court as well as Srinivasan. It is highly unlikely at the moment, but we need to see what sort of formula is being presented. Yes, Kapil Sibal is Srinivasan's lawyer, but he's going to be the one who presents these formulas to the Supreme Court once the hearing resumes at 2 o'clock.
And all eyes on whether the Supreme Court is going to accept it or shoot it down. Radhika, thank you so much for bringing us those developments. This is, remember, as the crucial hearing has in fact resumed in the Supreme Court.